So tonight it's early the Dalet Shvat. What we've been reminded that that's the Hilula of the Baba Sali, and doubtless a great Eisrutz and Bein Lamayla, Bein Lamata. Shir in Hamshich Tofrei Shayin Beis, Chelik Aleph, Amud Tof Ayin Hei, Sof Dibur HaMashchir, Vaidav Elikim Es Kol HaDvarim Ha'elu, Tof Reish Ayin Dalet. So we came to the conclusion in the previous os that the Merumam BMS he wasn't Bepchinas Metzias Klau, and therefore his Rimamis Lagabi Kol Eile Shebeteilim Elo was in an even that ein behem Kol Geder Shel Metzias Klau, and not that his Rimamis comes from a attempt on his part to create an atmosphere of bittul on their part, but it comes from the fact that he's Eino Bepchinas Metzias Yeshes Klau, or he's Lagamre Begeda, like we saw, he's the Eino Bepchinas Metzias Nimto Klau, and that's the remembrance of the Atzmas, and Dafki, because of that, there can be the Yeshu Amiti, the Tekev Amitius of his Metzias, is Meir in his Malucha, and that's the Inin of Tekev Malucha. Now it is in Elakus, the Tekev of the king Mitzad Mitias Bitule B'Metzias. I apologize slightly for the lack of Seder. I don't quite know why it's like that, but we'll just have to be satisfied with the kasha after Metzias.
Rav Gafni, do you ask the Bochrim to forgive you that there's no Seder in the yeshiva? Do you ever ask the Bochrim to forgive you that there's no Seder?
To forgive me?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Well, I don't know. No, I don't.
Oh, no, so?
you guys are, Erchim Chashuvim, you're not the Bochrim anymore. Anyway, and therefore we saw that the Mekablim Mimenu Bechinas Bittul B'Metzias, and we were medactic Besofa Ois that they're also Margish how they believe Metzias Klau, and they are Mizbatlim Be'etzem Metziusom Lifnei Harimamis. In other words, that the Bittul Ki'ilu works in two directions. The Teikev at the Metzias of the Merumam comes from Bitulei or Emes, that he's Beklau not by Mechinas Metzias, and that is nearer in the Mekablim, or that is Mashpir, Nishkaf, as you might say, in the Mekablim, that they're Bechinas Bilti Metzias Klau, and the Mizbatlim, Lefonov, Bebitel, just even van een reich Klau, and that's the emes, in his Malucha, I feel in these pastors, like we're medactic, is near the emes Eik Shaheim Betalium be emes Mitzad Reima Musai or Amitias. And then we went on to say that's Lecheres in Reish Lamed Hey. That's Lecheres Seisa Mashanachnu Reim Sham Merumam Akavana Merumam BMS Davke. I'm sorry. Bechinas Reim Amiti Eina Mevatel Shum Dover. He's not Mevatel anything. V'adarabba Neisen Mochim Ve'eret L'Chol Dover. He finds a place, as it were, for everything, and allows it to have its Metzias, and it doesn't mevalbel him or in any way mitzad heder ha'erech, and mitzad chesed tfisas mokim, and mitzad the fact that he's mudal b'havdolas ha'erech, legam, it's not mevalbel him klau, and therefore he can allow everything to have a place. So therefore we say that they feel the emes of bittul how their mamish b'chinas heder ha'erech and botil b'metzias. Well, that's the fact that we say he gives them On the contrary, he allows everything to have its place, as it were, and its Metziah. ובאמס אין לך דבר שאין לו מוקים. ואיך נוימה שאין במציאס כלל. How do we say that the Makablim from the Reimamas Amitias are not bebchinas Metzias, וכן הוא נראה בהreimamas bebchinas בלי Metzias. The Reimamas sees in the Makablim how they're mamish belima Metzias. He sees them as a valuable part of what you might call his kavanah and his plan. And on the contrary, gives everything a place. The Lafia now, L'chayro ula eipach, the kol dover shenimtzo v'nitzava, yesh lei mokem. V'hareimim is dat kinesim mokem l'chol dover. And here we were just mechadish that nothing has any place whatsoever, and it's all b'chinas, and they feel it also, and they themselves know that they are completely botel m'tzias l'loiko erech klau. How do the two things come together? And we saw the teretz was Achainen hu dezeh sheyesh lo mokim v'noisen lo mokim ein zeh shadover mitzad atzmei yesh lo mokim v'erech ki im ma shenoisnim lo erech. We saw this is a gewaldige new sfora, a factor that comes into the whole hemshech, the pure in these Maimonim, that BMS, the Niroim have no erech or tfisa klal, the gabi diatzmos. We're going to see the Lashon gets even stronger as it goes along. And the final maskon is that really they have no Metzias, even. They're not even begeder ha-Metzias klal. It's only that the atzmos is nois and mokim. He literally, b'chirosei hu kaviocho, he decides that he wants them to have a place. And therefore, he gives them a place, and that's not mavalbul, the fact that they have no place like him, because it's his rotzen and his decision, as it were, to give them a mokim. The whole thing is only mitzad him, but not mitzad them. They mitzad themselves are completely bottled by Metzias, to the point that there ain't a Metzias klau. What they do have a Metzias is what he allows them, he gives them that Metzias. The imiyoi she'ein lo shum erech v'tfisa klal uklal legabi haraimames. Ein loy is referring to the Makabel. Upi hemes harihu botel b'metzias legamrei legabi haraimames kanal. Of the word legamrei is going to be important. He's bottled Metzias completely. Mikol mochim teva haraimames amiti. Here we run up against this word teva haraimames again. The teva haraimames amiti kasher bo b'chinas ispashtes v'izgalas shenoisen mochim l'chol dover. Now that's going to be connected with, and later we're going to be miyashiv more the whole shleimus of that spot. We've already met up with teva hamarimam liyesh nimshach el hashofel that we've already had. It's common in Siddur, that whole concept, and we had that earlier in the previous Maimah, that the teva of the marumam is dafkid a marumam amiti. We're talking about not a gemata marumam, but a emesa marumam is to be nimshach el hashofel. And we even in other places we call that rachamim. We say that that's a sug miyuchad in rachamim. Here we're not so stressing the tzad rachamim b'zeh, but we're stressing the etzem teva, the murumam and the muvdal ha'amiti to be nimshach to the shofel. So he says that that's even in the ispashtes areimamas. Because mochim teva areimamas ha'amiti kasher bo b'chinas ispashtes v'hizgalas shenoisen mochim l'chol dover. Now why do we have to say that we're talking only in the ispashtes and isgalas of the reimamas, not in the reimamas amiti mamish ekshehu? V'gam l'dover koton b'yoser noisen loy erech u'mokim k'moy l'dover godel. So, in other words, that everything he can give it an error, no matter what may be its cutness in the realm of the Metzias themselves. And by him, it doesn't matter. It can have a error godel or cotton, lefi nasinas mekoi meihu, not necessarily in the laws or the normal way of looking mitzad the mekablim. וזהו מפני שהספשטס הרממס הוא מבחינס רממס או עצמס ולא יהיה בבחינס מציאס וישס כנ"ל. That the ispashtus of the remus amiti is not a metzias or a yeshes, it's only a gili of the remus amiti of the atzmas, and the remus amiti is only ain't a bepinus metzias. Like we learn, that it's not beget a metzias cloud, neither is the ispashtus. Al kain u nation mochim lechol dover, agam shemitzad atzmei ein lo shum mochim ve'erech cloud. Well, that thing could be as no mokim ve'erech whatsoever, over these pashtas of the Reimamus, being as it is a pashtas of the Reimamus amitias mamish, then it gives mokim ve'erech to a few inyonim what ein lem kol erech or geder shel matiyas. V'tavke, and that's precisely bibchinas by pashtas arememes. The kashahu berememes atzmi beetem. If we take the rememes atzmi as ekshahu mitzad etem atzmusei, eino begeder nasinas mokim l'shum dover ki mudo be'erech legamrei. It's not shy to say that the amitius rememes atzmis would give mokim to anything, because it's just completely and utterly mudal. It's not even shy that it should give a place to anything. But in the Ispashtas, being as it is, as we saw earlier in the beginning of the Maimar, we saw in the Ispashtas of the Reimamas, there can even be a certain Indian of what we call Reimamas Hamaylo. In other words, there's already a certain Indian of Yachas to something there. That it's Nimshach Almanas Liyes Meruma Al Am ultimately. Therefore, there can be an Etzinas Mokim to the Nivra, but not in a way that the Nivra really has any Matthias Klau or error, but the Atzmas itself gives him, even for Nasina Gemura, gives him that place and that error. And therefore, that's stuck in the Ispashtas, not in the Et.
Don't we say that Yid is a chelek elokam mimal mamish?
Right.
It's a portion of the Atzmus, when you take a little bit of the...
Right. So maybe he's got a chelek mimal mamish, so then he should be how do you call it? Shaykh to the Atzmus. Not only shaykh, he should be like how do you call it? A chip off the old block, to use the expression.
Yeah.
Right. So here we have to say that the Iker, and I say this b'pashtas advarim, or the Iker of the Nivra, and when we talk about Nivroim, and we talk about the union from Malchus, and we talk about the group, and we talk about the union which becomes a Metzias. The Neshama, not really shy to say that she becomes a Metzias. Maybe in the Gilui HaNeshama, the Chelik Naran, maybe shy to say that becomes Ezeshu even Shomatzir. Of the Iker Kabbalah Samalches is we the Neshama is Mamish Melubish in the Guf, and we Kilo the Guf is the Rike. We see that on Rosh Hashanah, there's the famous Ghost Maimonides, but he says the whole dinner of Rosh Hashanah is also the Guf. Well known. The Rebbe brings a lot of the Maimorim. The whole Ikea on Rosh Hashanah is really mitzad the Guf and mitzad the Gashmir, because mitzad the Neshama, before that Chelek Elokad, I mean, they never really become separate entities. They're mamish miyuchad betachlis b'sher shom kol hazman. The whole Indian is how are they going to be poil on the Indian of the Choyma and the what you might call the Yeshes of the Nivra. And the fact we see that the whole Indian from Malchus is mitzad echod. Well, that's a hina from yesh, like we said, but it's not really yeshes. It's a teikah for the ois of the Matthias Amitis of Al Chaponim. It's a form of teikah of Matthias, and whereas Malchus Shayach davke on the yesh, davke on the dvorim anifrodim, the meaning of an ein melech beloi oimemes nifrodim. Wo de ganze Shaychus to Malucha davke neshamas alamata in Gufim. Aber die Ine von Kabbalah's Malchus Mamis is not shaykh anywhere, only in the aspect of the Neshama HaNechas B'tech HaGuf. You follow? Al zeh medabrim achshav. Al zeh kol ha'inyan von Nivroim and Nifrodim, all those inyanim, the Ine von Ein HaRoyach and all those things. Those mitzad the aspect of the Odom, how he's a Nivra. Or mitzad Atzimus HaNeshama, he's not a Nivra. The charge of them we're talking in the Geda of the Odom how he's a Nivra, and that's a whole gewaltige chiddush that the Yidden are able to be poyel beretzaino, that there's a hina from Kil what the goof is mekabel, berotzen the hina from Oil Malchus Shemayim. That's are the ganze hina from Rosh Hashanah. That's the whole Nakuda. And on Yom Kippur is another in here. Yom Kippur, we go up into the Ine from Daimel and Malachim, they call it the Ine from, the Kittel is Daimel, to the Ine from, Chweiston, all the Inyonim was saying, Kanamach and Laharich, V'chuli, this is Ine from Aliyah, Kilo is Talkis, Lamaila, where the goof just gives up its own shlita, it doesn't eat, doesn't have anything to do with itself, and it goes up into a Geref and kilos as a dover ruchni. Only the Yom Kippur as a kilo and a tachlis aliyah. But then the ultimate is to bring everything down back into the Simchas Torah, Dafki the Guf. You understand? Dafki the Guf, with the Neshama also, with her new koyches, to be poil in the Guf. So the Tishrei, everybody gets new koyches. You know? The Guf gets naya koyches, the Naran get naya koyches, and the Etzem and Neshama also gets new, what you might call stimuli, all depending on which particular yontiv or which particular it happens to be. You know? Those are not good. So we're talking here about the Inyan from the Kabbalah Samalchis. So therefore he says that the Inyan is Davke Bishpashtas, or in the Etzem HaRoim it's not shy because Etzem HaRoim it's not possible even to give any Sinus Mochim, because it's just completely modal legamri. V'im yesh noisen lemochim avim berach legamri. Avo kashu b'yispashtus HaRoim ari u noisen mochim l'kol dover. V'im yesh noisen lehem mochim ve'erach, ein lehem shum mochim ve'erach mitzad atzmon klal. Now we see we keep warning two inyanim. We're having our cake and we're eating it too, or we're not eating it. I don't know. It was sort of holding the strict, but we're not holding it. They were saying that the Eibishter gives them mokim, but really, that's also not. It's not really happening, but it is. In other words, Hashem gives them mokim, but that doesn't mean they do get mokim from Him. It's all from His point of view. He gives them mokim, or not that makes them into a Matziyah. They remain completely without Matziyah. The Eibishter looks at them, and sees them as a Matziyah, and He gives them the whole inyan from the mokim. Now that's going to be what we have to be choike as we go along. Does it have a toikif, or does it not have any toikif? Is it just kilo like a show, and it's not really anything, or does it really have what you might call a toikif, amiti mitadatzme? Aval Chaponim says the Rebbe, you must not learn from that the Matthias the Nivra becomes imkain eishu Matthias. He said in its own pintellein, in its own self, it remains completely below Matthias. Now what then the Eibishter is nice and loy mokim ve'erach. He said the zesha nice and loy mokim ein zesha dover teisef mokim etzloi. Not cholila that's really teifes mokim. der Bemes einer Dove mit Teufels machen klar. Rak Mashu who Neusen loy machen we. So I have to say that the Ika word here is Teufels. Yeah? That the Indian has no tefisa. It doesn't, as it were, have any hold on Hashem whatsoever. It doesn't hold any place. He gives it erech, it's only what he gives it of, not that it really has any tefisa legabe him. V'lochin, agam shenoisen loy mokim, ein lahadova mokim mitzadat meklav. In other words, it doesn't have any hold on anything. It's absolutely nothing, but he allows it to be, as it were, something. The Cain who, he said, b'yediyas hareimemes, the mitzadatzmei ein lahem. Oh, he said, that's how it is in the yediyas hareim. In other words, the way the Remus looks at the matter, and the way the Remus knows the matter, the way he sees it, is, the mitzadatzmei ein lahem shum mokim klau. Rak shehu noisim lehem mokim ve. He gives them a place. It's becoming very mystifying as we go along. What is the nature of this? What is the nature of this error that they get from him having given it to them? If he sees it as really not the case, he sees when he is Yodea Oisov, then they're completely mitzad atzma, and they mitzad atzma also. They don't really receive any error, because they remain how they are in their own self, completely and utterly bottled b'matzias. It's a minute that he gives them a place. Was it the how they call it was it the panosa from them minion? What does that really give them? And what does it really mean? So we have to just sort of hold our breath a little while and see if we can't work that out as we go along. He said, now we come to the Efresh Amiti between the Marumim that he's like we saw earlier, a Gemachte Marumim, he sort of makes himself Marumim, to somebody who is Marumim B'emet. That's the first one. Marumim l'she'ena Marumim. The mi she'ena Marumim, Ari hu noisim mochim be'eret l'dovo, she'esh loy mochim. What does he do? He gives a mochim be'erech to something which has a mochim mitzadatzmei. It has a place mitzadatzmei by him. Hainu l'dovo she'teisiv mochim et loy. He gives it a place, because why? Why does he want to give it a place? Because it's Teifus Mokim. It anyway has a place by him, because he's Remus is not a Metius, and it's presenting itself to him as a competitional Matthias to his Matthias. It has a place. What does he do? He's worried about it, and he's concerned, and that concern, that Hisaskis gives it even more chashivas than it would have had. It becomes even more. Right from the beginning, it's kiruva. One to the I don't know. We bought the Marshal von Holman. Did he have to run around being mevatel everybody, because everybody was really a Matthias, and he saw in them a threat to his own bilad, his own monopoly on the Indian of Matthias. V'im kain possession oisem mochim ladovo, and then what he makes, he gives place to that particular thing. Harei adovo hu etzlei b'chinas the fact that he gives it makom, well, that adds to the makom that it already has, because mitzadatzmei, by definition, it already has a makom, and that what he gives it makom, he's only, as it were, to a certain extent, adding to his own complication. He's just giving it even more than it would have had, or that it does have, mitzadatzmei. Dainu, b'chinas hametzias v'erech yoter, it becomes even more of a threat to his Matthias, and what you might call a stumbling block in his way. It gets in his way, but really he's contributing to that. He causes it to get in his way even more than it would have. In other words, it may be, had he just left it as a Matthias and ignored it, then it may have hurt a little bit of bittul agavi him. Or the fact that he keeps trying to beat it, that gives it more and more Metzias than it really had, like him. And his concern with its Metzias is adding more to his Metzias. Ma'ashein hamarumam noisen mochim l'dover she'ein lo mochim be'erev mitzadat. He gives a mochim to a dover, what in its own right it really has no mochim whatsoever. Dahainu she'mitzadat me'ein ze toifes. Like we saw before, it has no grasp of any place like him. It's just absolutely not there as far as he's concerned. Ein ze toifes mochim klau. It's kilu mamish einoi. V'alkein im hanasinas mochim ein mikol mochim ladover mochim mitzad atzmi. Mikol mochim meaning after everything. After everything, even though he gives it place, that doesn't mean that in any way it gains episa. It gains episa place. Ein mikol mochim ladover mochim mitzad atzmi liyois shezeu b'chinas havdolas ha'erech ve'einu nitfas be. It's in the even havdolas ha'erech and einu nitfas. So the shal is who's nitfas? Einu nitfas be. So we have to say that in pastas it means the dover. The fact that he gives it that place and allows it to. In his grace, what you might call his grace. I'll give grace to whoever I choose to give. To give grace. That's mitzad. But that doesn't cause the thing to have any tfisa. Maybe just b'derech, possibility we can tie it to nitfas. He's also not nitfas. The mashpia also is not nitfas in the fact that he gives it a place. That's just purely mitzad chanoishe asher ochoin. It's meant that I decided to give a certain grace to Indians there. V'richamti yas asher arachim, the union for the Remus. It fits in very nicely there. It doesn't have any tfisa. It doesn't change in its absolute hevdol, even though he gives it an error. He does give it an error, but it doesn't alter anything. Not in its own self, and not in any relationship like him. And they're referring legabi him, and ein leze erem mitzad atzmei. That's kilu in the etzem inyan of the thing itself. It has no real being. It doesn't really have any matzias in its own right, in its own self. Kilu neimar mitzad amitius yedias atzmei has no matzias. As you might say, the only reason that it's there. And the only reason it does have a kilo, nois and chashivas, l'kol dollar, is because he wants and he gives it that place. And maybe we could say that that's why it's there, b'klau. Because he's soon going to start using even stronger l'shem. Really, it's not. It has no matzias or it's not there. It's just completely not there. In other words, what are you doing there? Only because he allows you to be there, and that's. Al derech, we can suggest by way of possibility. That's what we find in Shara Yichud, the Alter Rebbe is marich over there, that the whole Metzias of the Nivra is what the Atzmus is Yodea, or he says it. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows him and is Yodea, or he says it, and that gives him a place. That's his whole chayz, his whole place. And that's Hashgacha Pratis, the Yediyah, that's the whole union of Hashgacha, and like he's marich over there, really the Nivra has no place whatsoever. Who Yodea, he be the Yediyot, so it's the similar union. Who Yediyot, who Amado, who Yodea, Atzmai, the whole union from the Yediyah, and him are all, Yediyah Satzmusa, Yodea, Esa Nivra. It's a similar idea. He gives it a place, even though B'yam Islamita ain't a place. Asks herself to Shaila, Imkain, does it really have a place, or does it not, or what's the definitional aspect of that Matthias. So if we're just a little bit patient, I'll soon come to say a word about that. Well, now we meet up with a very interesting there. He says, "Ubezeh maturatz eich teva hamarumam liyos nimshach el hashofel meyacha shehu noisem mochim ladovo im kein ein shofel." Now that kasha, I don't know if you guys remember, we asked right at the end of the last Maimah in Tov Samach Ches, in the brackets over there. We were talking about how the marum is nimshach al shofel, and they put in brackets ubinyan anal gamkein tzadik lahovin. I don't know if you remember. Do you? Tov Samach Ches. He writes over there. Meyacha she'amarumam noisen mokim l'chol dovar, v'im kein eichu nimshach el hashofel, shezeu she'eina uimed be'ez darga. A shofel is something that doesn't stand on any madrega. It has no madrega aspect. The Omid Tov Samach Ches.
Yes.
About 2/3 of the way down, the brackets. Yeah, that to be defined as a shofel, then it's got to be eina leku shum erech or madrega. Or meyach shenoisen loy mokim ve'erech hariyu oimed be'eze darga. And he didn't answer teretz on that. And he just said we have to understand that. And I remember when we learned that, I pointed out to you that was going to get an answer a bit later on, and here we come to the answer. You understand? In other words, it's an interesting case where the Rebbe left with a shayla.
What's the question?
The question is that if we're going to say that he's noisen, mokim, to the zach, then how can we call it a shofel? He's given it a place. If he's given it a place, then it becomes important. If it becomes important that he's not, how can you say teva marum liyos nimshach ela shofel? You follow? So now he's coming to answer that.
The same thing happens here, though. We read earlier.
Here what you think over there is that when he's nice and mokim, that he mamish makes it into a Matthias koshi, and it's oimid beis a darga. That was the kasha. After Kodesh Baruch is a place, and it's oimid beis a shu darga. It's not shofel. If all shofel means completely arok. Yeah. How could you say that the marum is nimshik davkil? So there's no shofel. He gives everything a plate. So now he's answering that. He's saying, well, now we ought to be retired. So that dover that we were mashir kilo b'shayla over there, now we're able to answer it. Fabuous. Im kein harei mitzadatzmei. I'm sorry. But avohadover and the lafia now move on. According to what we've just said, it's now moving. Liyoish shezeu rak mashu hu noisen loy mokim ve'erech. Aval adova mitzadatzmei ein loy mokim ve'erech klal, even with a nesina. Doesn't do it. Even when he gives it an erech, the dova mitzadatzmei doesn't have any erech klal hu klal. Over there in the kasha, the Salchadaita was that if he gives it place, then he's given it. He's given it place. He's given it place, and it's a legabay beisashu dago was a shofel. So there, the Rebbe answers no, that both things are there. Benoise echad. Mitzadach, he gives it mokim, but in that giving it doesn't change the fact that it's betachusah hashiflas. And therefore, mitzad demrei mamas, he's able to be nimshach ela shofel, even though he gives it a place. You follow? Because the place is only what he allows it to have the place, of it doesn't alter the fact that b'diyasihu, it's b'tachusah shiflet. And therefore he can have both together. He can have giving it a place, and mitzad sheni, he's nimshach davki el hashofel. So therefore he says, im kein, hari mitzad atzmei hu shofel, shaloi b'bchinas Matthias klal. V'al kein, teva hamarumam. The marumam is able to be nimshach el hashofel. Here we move into a slightly more difficult and puzzling situation. That you notice that he reminds you of the kasha that he asked. Machashu noisen mochem ladova im kein ein shofel. He said, "Lefi anal movin liyeshezeu rak mashu hu noisen leimokim be'erech. Aber adova mitzad atzmei ein leimokim be'erech im kein hari mitzad atzmei hu shofel." Yeah, shloi beprinus matzias v'al kein teva hamarumam. So in other words, just forget about the fact that he gives it mokim. That he gives it mokim, that's one thing. Although his giving it mokim doesn't change the fact that it's shofel mitzad atzmei. Erevo teva hamarumam liyes nimshich al shofel remains even when he gives it a place. The teretz only takes into account really that it's shofel mitzad atzmei of Nishah b'shayrim what's this nice and mocking business, if it doesn't alter the fact that it's completely shofel be'eino. But maybe that's not what he's saying. Maybe he's saying that since it's shofel be'emes mitzad atzmei, even though he gives it mocking, it doesn't change the fact that it's really shofel. That he's giving it a mokim doesn't alter the real metzias that it's shofel lagamri mitzad atzmei. But he does give it mokim. So how can the fact that he give it mokim not alter the fact that it's completely shofel? But he says no, that's the answer. The answer is that since it's only a nasinis mokim mitzidoi and mitzad atzmei, it's completely shofel. And the teva and the Kesal Chadaidik over there was that the nasinis mokim on his part gives it a mokim darage. So the Rebbe said, oh no, it doesn't give it any darage. And the Rebbe said, what does it give it? Yeah, what does it really give it? Because in the ultimate lashon of the teretz, he tends to avoid slightly the fact that he's nice and mokim. He said no, since he does give it mokim, but really mitzad atzmei. Then he said in the final lashon of the teretz, he says mitzad atzmei is his shofel. Erevo teva hamarumam liyes nimshach ela shofel. Lefi zeh is oid yuksha od yoter l'chera. What's the decision for nasinas mokim? It doesn't really alter anything, it would appear, because it still remains betachlis hashiflas, and therefore he's able to be nimshach ela shofel. If he gives a place, then we have to say no. Since the emes is mamish mitzad atzmei, it has absolutely no, and his nasinas mokim doesn't alter that. It remains a shofel. So what does his nasinas mokim alter? What killer does it really change? Ultimately speaking, because the mashmoyas is that legabi him also it's a vada b'finas tachlis hashifras, even though he's given it mokim, it's still b'tachlis hashofel, and the teva harimim is liyes nimshach ela shofel. So we've earned a teret of it to a certain extent. We've moved even deeper into the shaila of what it is nice and mokim, because in the lashon of the teret we ever so slightly avoid that nice and late mokim. We say no, it's really mitzad atzmei. We have to say klapi ma'ila to Chabad does. Well, wait a minute, he gives a place up, but he doesn't really, and therefore it doesn't disturb teva marumam liyes nimshach ela shofel. That's all the shadow. What's it as far as
maybe it's complex. Makes it more complicated. That he said earlier, "Gam davar hakatan biyoter noten lo erech umakom k'mo davar gadol."
Yeah, that's only talking in the.
That they have.
Yeah, that's only talking in the.
Everything is shofel.
Yeah, but that's talking in the realm of the Nivroim. You understand what we consider? What we consider to be a davar koton. They means what we consider. Yeah. What is nira be'enei hamakabli to be a davar gadol. By him it's a davar koton or heifer. It's like when Rabbi Shua ben Levi went up into Eilam HaEmes. He said, "Mandu hu za'ir hu rav, mandu hu rav hu za'ir." It could be what appears to be us to be tremendously great is really nothing and hafu. That's it.
But he's speaking mitzad the histaklus of the
that means to say that he gives everything a erech lefi how he sees it. It's who knows and mokim. Who knows and mokim. And what appears by us a dover gadol, it can be really a dover koto. It depends what everything is according to how he gives a mokim. It's his Nesinas mokim. The ultimate what is that everything mitzad is Nesinas mokim as an error. It doesn't matter, just the shinui between gadnus, the katnus, be'enei ha-bria, that can be totally b'nesinas mokim shaloi. The shadow, what here is, that we're once again, we're earning ourselves on both fronts. We're having our cake and eating it too again. They were saying, oh no, really, mitzad the emes, he's partly shot, who knows in lemochim, but nonetheless, he's still a shofel, lo mekabel shum darge mizeh, lo metalem mizeh, mei shiflu, say, even though he gives him a place. What's his whole in of giving him a place? Doesn't really change anything, because he's still betachusah, a shiflus ve'in lo erev v'darge, and therefore nim shechela marumim, nim shechela shofel. V'yesh leima, the very fact that the Rebbe says v'yesh leima is a siman that mashu lo legamrei miushav. Therefore is yesh leima. In other words, we still got a score to settle. Yesh leima ainian lamaila. Let's talk about how it is lamaila, and that'll help us understand v'yazes kum to reis lamata. Al pi ha'yedua be'inyan da'ash elien. Da hadeya ho'el yena hi shel lamaila yesh, ainu, b'chinas yeshu amiti. The emes verhanen, the emes being, the emes yesh noi, das yesh amiti, o lamata ayin. And lamata, everything is ayin. Shahakur b'chinas ayin vo efes mami. Not just shlilas amatzias, ayin, but ayin vo efes. Now we're going to see that tends to gain a bit of momentum as we go along with this whole beer, that the nivra in be'enei ha'mayla, the way the Eivishter sees it, is that it's not just ayin, but it's efes. What efes is, legamrei shlilas kol efshoriyas of metzias. No, how do you call it? Out. The ayin is just a shlila of certain matzias, of a efes is ro. Umavuya inya b'moki machim. Liyosh me'atzmas oyer ein seif, efshah she'iyeh eise matzias dover. Me'atzmas ein sof, nothing can possibly be misaver. Ve'ishavas hamatzias hu rach al yedei timtum. In other words, that the inyonim come about only through the symptom of a mamish atzmas. He can't possibly produce another thing apart from himself. Now here's an interesting one. There's a famous old child. Could the atzmas do something? Is there such a thing as an impossibility like with the atzmas? Maybe he can't really produce something else apart from himself. It's not true. Can't possibly be. Milvade mamish. Here we've got a very interesting trick going on here. Therefore says the Rebbe, this whole what we call the Ishavas, whatever that's going to be in the final decision, the whole Ishavas is Ali Day Tzimtzum. Machta Helem, and you get a Ishavas. וכאשר לגבי אין סייב אין שום דבר מצמצם ומעלים כלל, and since לגבי the Eivishter, the tzimtzum is not מעלים, the tzimtzum is only לגבי the מקבלים, כמובן בתניא פרק כ"א, there's no tzimtzum לגבי him, ומאיר האין סוף בגילו לאחר tzimtzum כמו קודם הצמצום, לכן BMS העולם והנברואים בטלים במציאס לגמרי שאינם בבחינת מציאס כלל. So don't come to some man You see what's happening here? It's mamish, having a cake and eat it too. Mamish. What do we say? That Atzmas itself can't possibly produce anything. Ain't no But he can't possibly name. Maybe that's the one impossible thing that David can't make you think kuts me. How does the whole thing occur? The Tzimtzum is not really true. Like over here, nothing happens. It's only a trick like over the Mekablim. Over the Mekablim, since the Tzimtzum is not master like over him, as he's there, like he was there before. If he's there before, you can't have a Matziyah. If say, ain't Matziyah. I don't say, how are they Matziyah? Here's what he does. Ain't a moon. It's not to be understood. The worlds did come out. See, Bereshit bara Eloi. Bereshit bara Elokim. They used to made somethings. They're not there at all. They can't be. By definition, the Atzmus doesn't allow them. He doesn't allow them to be there. He just, by definition, he can't have them. So how can he have them? How can they be there? And he says, oh yes, I created them. Bereshit bara. Das bin ich. Offenbar, you'll say no. Look at that. The Oilamas are not there. Forget it. Emlo. They can't possibly be. Oh, Mashahem b'metzios. Zerach Mashaher ain't safe. Noisen lehem mokim u'metzios. Avoloi shahem b'pinas metzios mitad atzmei. Ve'imi yoy shenoisen lehem mokim. Mikol mokim ein lehem mokim mitad atzmo. They don't have a mokim at all in their own selves. Sich shum mokim nit. It's only because he gives them a mokim. And he said, V'chein hu b'yidiyotei. Not only just Kiwi makes a whole trick, but the Tzimtzum and Kiwi leaves it over or something. He leaves you to sort it out. It'll be bought from Shara Yichud. The Mamish in the Eibush says, Das, in his Yediyah, Kein hu b'yidiyotei barach, she'einam b'bchinas Matzias klal. The Eibush knows in his Matzias that they are absolutely not there. Klal. In other words, in his Yediyah, it's even worse. It's the Einam which is Klal Uklal. Rakshu, who is Baruch Neisel Lehem, Mokim Ve'erev. He gives them a Einam, Mokim Ve'erev. That's all right. If I'm here, Nimsa Lafise, what's it do? They are not there at all. You forget it. They can't possibly be, because Atzmus is Meir, the Atzmus is there, they can't be. It's constant. But he gives them a place. He kills not tell him. So you might say, well, it's just like it's not real. It's not anything real. It's just like it's an Achizah say Naim, a Spiel. No, it's a Bereshit bara. Something happened. Like the famous quote from the Rebbe Marash, that the two possibilities, that if you're a machashiv and you just make people look at the field of the kishuim, and you make all the kishuim get up and walk over and plant themselves in a field alongside. They all get up. But it's all just an achizah zinav. It's not really happening. Is Ish Potter, the Osel of Ish Potter Mimisa. But if he's poil, they actually do get up and walk over and plant in the other field, then he's Chayav Misa. He's Chayav Misa. So in fact, the Rebbe Marash, the whole world is anyway. It's not really there, the world. It was a Kovetzias. It's not even a cholim. It was enough community. If he made it look that way, or if he made it work, it's also he made it look that way. It didn't happen anyway. Lisa, for that we see that the world is epistemic. The Rebbe says, no, he said, Peter is Jeb's Matthias. Wat kreeg ik dat was het tijd, jener bekomt Misa op Peter. So you might say, oh no. The Misa always happened, it's all just a dream. He's not really there and he's not really being put away. Nothing's really happening. So the Rebbe said, no, him came, but Koloin should be Peter. Yeah. Contact that. Nothing's really happening. What does he have to worry about that? He's not there, he's not going to be punished. Nothing's happening. Yeah. Helemaal is er most these things I can't have. Yeah. So the Emerson we should really read the brackets. If now the brackets comes around from another corner, we'll leave that to the next time. What was to contains like this? We have to say that how is it that it gets a tweak from a Matthias when it's ain't no Matthias cloud. It's right there with the Atzmas. Yeah, who lays us upon him and he's there. And the Nivra is not there. Ain't no Matthias cloud. Every time. And where it takes us to know he's Chayav Misa and the Misa is really happening to him. I mean, he's got a Moedik Arayah of him, that whole thing with the Kishuy. It's a Mishnah in Sanhedrin, Perek Zayin, I think it is in Sanhedrin. So I'm a 17. What do we have to say is like this. We said before that the Malucha, the king, is also a Zamitzot. That all the we're at the end of the last chapter, that all the citizens, that he called, all the Mekablim from the middle, they also know that they're Mamish Lekabihim, they're absolute Einvach. There's only him Ko Eric Lekabi, because he's a Remus Achmi, and he's a Emerson Marumam, isn't he? He's Emerson Marumam, and he's Marumam Ba'achmi, with the ganze. Imamir, they don't have any. Imamir, there's no Malucha. That's it. And he's also not Begerim Metzias. He's bottled with Metzias. Lekabi the Eivishter. So he says, no, that the Eivishter gives a tuikif of his bittul b'metzias, that he gets kilo from the Eivishter into the Malucha, and it gets a certain uiz, but tuikif, mitzad the Amitius, yichud of the Marumam in Elikus, in the Mochi of Emes tuikif. We can say that what happens, the Nivra is not really there. The Kriya Shem on the part of the Eibishter is an Asinas Toikev that at least the Gabi all has beinas from the Mekablim, it makes a reality. And that reality is fixed by the Torah. And that's what he said earlier, that the Torah is the final mamut. Remember we had these four levels, and we said that the last connection is the mamut of the Torah. We said that the Torah is the last mamut. And that brings about the etzem misavas or the coming into being of the B'teilim Elamelech or Elav Yisborach in the Nimshal. Nimta at the Nasinas Mokim is a giving of Toikev from the Sherashah Amiti. In other words, that since he is adequate. V'tatlis our Sa'era, he's Atzmas man, and nothing can be there like him. And the fact that it is there, we have to say that his Atzmas gave it a certain Toikev. It's not there, but it is, because he gave a certain Toikev of his Matthias into it. And it's interesting that on Motzei Shabbos I was looking in Likutei Diburim. I was looking at something in Likutei Diburim. I must admit I didn't have a great deal of fire. I wasn't particularly, how do they call it, fresh-minded with the guns to do it. But I came across a whole piece there from the Frierdiker Rebbe. But the Frierdiker Rebbe quotes what the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, that Hu levade b'kochev yechelte lahavas ha'ish ma'ayim v'efes ha'muklat. And he writes a whole thing that changed. Once that came into, the Alter Rebbe made that statement, it changed the whole world, it changed the whole Hasogi and the Chassidim became different and everybody became different. We say a whole Matthias Mahus and the Mahus of the Matthias and the Hasogis Mahus, Matthias, Shabbat Mahus, Shalahem, and I go on to after tremendous. Over the Nakud is that changed it. One day Alter Rebbe said that, everybody became different, and everybody understood differently, and everybody knew Elikus differently, and everybody became Batel, Betachas, and people, but Avu became, they understood. A whole big, complicated Sikha dort. That can only be like the Friedrich Rebbe is a Sikha, because the Alter Rebbe wrote those words. He says, Hu levadi bekoche v'yochelte l'havet es hayesh me'an v'eves ha'amochle. Now, Mamere, das ist the word. Hu levadi bekoche v'yochelte. Only he can do that. Yeah? Nothing. The whole thing is nothing, and it can't possibly be anything. Oh, but yes, it is. Yeah, remember, that's the answer to what we said before. We said before, that's one thing the Abish can't do. Oh, yes, he can. Oh, yes, he can. He can make that something will become, right? A Matthias, and even he will reckon with that Matthias, even though it's not really. But he will reckon with it. That's only he can do a thing like that. And that's what he said before, that the Emesa Reimim is the Melech, that's noise and ois into the Malchus. And it's not Yeshes. So not Yeshes, no, this is Erlein. Moshiach is coming, you guys. And when Moshiach is going to be here. And when it's going to be Tchias HaMeim, they're going to do it even before Tchias HaMeim. That's what we're going to wake up to. We're going to wake up to that. Our whole union is Rach. Yeah, Hu levadi bekoche v'yochelte. Those are the Atmos himself. We're a very special Yechoilus in the Atmos, that he can do the absolute impossible. He can make you be, and he can make you be Adla Neitzok Neitochim. Atzok, pictures of year. Adsof, Shebetsof. You'll be there, yeah. Because only he can do that. Can do that. Who will or Mitarasheni, the Remesis to be scorched. Absolute God. Club. You're not even there. Oh, he wants you to be there. He says you're going to be there. Oh, this is sad. Oh. The whole world stands on it. You move a few Meshuggah Kishuyim. What you have to eat the kishuyim. You have to eat the lox. You have to face the music. I'm sorry. Was heißt? Das ist der Pshat. Immer kommt das, that the whole noise and mocking is a mördige Sache. And that's what's hidden in those words of the Alter Rebbe over there. And that's a mamish haskocha pratis. I happened to see that sikha on Motzei Shabbos. I just have to be looking real good to put him check. All of a sudden I check. My eyes got cup. The whole beginning of the Rebbe is marich. Once the Alter Rebbe wrote those words, he changed the whole history of human hasoga and the whole human hasoga, the keys and the whole human do it. He changed this and he changed something else, he changed something else. And Chassidim became different, and the Chassidim were and they weren't, and they became this. They had different hasogas and they moved and they were able to change the world and they were able to be shluchim. All because they knew that. Was him, right? That's what's in here. And then that's only there, we understand, he's going to say that the Eilim is B'di Yosef, they do hold that they have a place. Oh yes, they do. Das Taktim, they really think they have a place. And that's also, the Eibishter wants you to think that you have a place. Oh yeah. He wants you to think that, and he wants you to feel that you don't really know what that's all about, and he wants you to come to the emes realization what it's all about. And that's Bittul HaYesh. Those are the Pshat Bittul HaYesh. Oh, at the beginning, the way he brought them about, yeah, they say, well, yeah, we were, Yesh me, we're here, Shalom Aleichem. I'm not here. Well, yes, I am. So what's it Bittul HaYesh? You're going to come to the realization, I'm sorry, you're not really.
So Gafni, ein Melech v'lo Am.
Yeah.
What the Eibush is feeling himself there is Melech, and because we don't really exist.
So you got to realize that that's written in the state in Samach, in Tofei Samach Dot. The Rebbe Hashem said the whole thing that happens on Russia doesn't really happen to me. There's no real Om, and there's no. He said, what's for a tainu? Got the Eivishter, the tainu from Dovish Eino. That's not really happening. So I said, no. That's what the Eivishter did. The Eivishter lets himself into that tainu, that something should happen, Kilu, Mitadi Zatzmas, in such a way that Kaviyohu, he'll allow himself to have a, which is called a Eino Chanami. It doesn't really happen, but it does. So the ultimate thing is that it does. It does really happen. And how is that? Only Mitadi Atzmas. That's only Mitadi. And that's what he says, B'yidiyosei hu. The Eibishter knows, he knows what's really going on. And what he wants you to do is to come to his Yediyah. He wants, at a crazy mention, was they trained Charum. In this world, they should come to that Yediyah. They should come. So our answer is, wonderful, tremendous. We're prepared. We've learned a bit of Ayin Beis. We've learned that Sikh and the Friedrich Rebbe. We've learned Tanya and Gerol Sakrid. All stink. Aber so, es ist schwer. Haben nicht Koya. Haben nicht Koya. God is, thousands of years of this Mishuk and the Matzah.
On the other hand, what is meaningless?
You want us to really understand it. You want us to really appreciate it. Ni. Huh?
למה הרויס למה זה?
Nee.
יחיה על ידינו ולא אבינו מלך משיח.